The top business stories live from the Sky newsroom. The government launches a new trade strategy claiming it will protect vital UK industries. But as it's published, the UK's largest bioethanol plant says it could close, blaming the terms of Britain's trade deal with the United States. Plus, financier Lord Nathaniel Rothschild on why he supports the Prime Minister's tax and welfare reforms. Good afternoon. This is Business Live with me, Paul Kelso. Sir Keir Starmer has launched a new trade strategy, the government's first since Brexit, which he says will protect vital UK industries and help businesses export around the world. Addressing the British Chambers of Commerce Global Conference earlier today, the Prime Minister told business leaders he understood the difficulties they face doing business abroad.
And I do acknowledge here that this year, as we've had to fix the foundations of our country, deal with the unprecedented mess that we inherited, we've asked a lot of you. I understand that, and I want to acknowledge that. I know that the trading environment is not easy. The challenges that you face are front and centre of my mind. When I'm sitting across the negotiating table with the EU, with the US, with India, whoever it is, trust me, I'm fighting for you.
Now, those comments came hours after the UK's largest bioethanol plant warned that it could close, blaming competition from US suppliers, now able to trade tariff-free in the UK thanks to the trade deal the Prime Minister struck with Donald Trump. Associated British Foods, which owns the Vivergo plant in Hull, said it could close unless the government covers its losses and agrees a long-term deal for support. Our economics and data editor, Ed Conway, joins me now. Ed, you've been following this industrial sector and this story throughout. This is a reminder, isn't it, for the Prime Minister that trade deals come with trade-offs?
They certainly do, Paul. And I mean, it's worth saying, this story, this saga has been going on for quite some time with this plant. I mean, it's not just, in a sense, this latest trade deal is the straw that broke the camel's back, because it has had problems for some time. It's a really hard sector to compete in. If you're taking foodstuffs and turning them, so you're converting them into fuel, it is quite an energy-intensive process, and obviously energy costs in the UK are very high. But even more than that, the difficulty that the UK faces is that most other countries around the world, when you're competing with them, most other countries around the world subsidise their agricultural sector, and particularly in the US, subsidise bioethanol and biofuels production in a way that the UK doesn't really. And so the plant had been saying for quite some time, listen, we need a level playing field. Hadn't really got that commitment from the government. And now, on top of that, there is this trade deal with the US. And of course, the bit that we have mostly been reporting on is what does it mean for steel? What does it mean for UK car producers? What does it mean for aluminium and for pharmaceuticals? Those are the opportunities for the UK. And I mean, there is good news there. The UK has a better deal than other countries around the world. I mean, less said about the fact that actually the tariffs are higher than they were beforehand. But nonetheless, compared with other countries around the world, potentially lower tariffs for car makers sending stuff into the US, at least for a certain amount of them. But the flip side of that is that it will be easier for American producers, particularly agricultural producers, to send their produce over to the UK, and that includes bioethanol. And obviously the US has this massive industry taking foodstuffs and turning them into fuels, and they will now be able to be imported into the UK with lower tariffs and fewer barriers and higher quotas. So as a result of that, it becomes harder for a plant like this to compete. And as I say, it was already struggling. And I don't want to kind of give the impression that we're talking constantly about closures, but there have been a kind of, a litany of these stories in recent days. You had the industrial strategy coming out on Monday, and then extra closures being announced. Just yesterday, there was a plant in Teesside, and now this one as well. There are some good news stories as well. I mean, there are many businesses which are doing better and will benefit from these trade deals. But there's also lots of challenges, and lots of people still concerned about the kind of direction of travel. And even though there's a trade strategy that the Prime Minister was just announcing there, it's not clear that that's changed anything, not fundamentally about the direction that the government is taking, and still some plants which are kind of close to closure now. So those concerns will go on, and people will be watching to see what happens with that trade deal with America.
Thanks, Ed. A real reminder of the balance on either side of the ledger when these deals are announced. It's the detail a great deal more complex. Thanks very much for your time, Ed. Now, the Prime Minister launched that trade strategy at the British Chambers of Commerce meeting today in London. His host was the Director General, Siobhan Havlin. Siobhan joins us now. Thanks for joining us. You've had a busy day, I'm sure. You had the ear of the Prime Minister this morning. What did you tell him on behalf of your members?
Good afternoon. Yes, it was fantastic to have the Prime Minister with us today to launch the trade strategy. What did we say to the Prime Minister? We said, it's fantastic to see trade top of the agenda. Trade export is the fastest and most efficient way to grow the economy. So that focus is absolutely the right one. And, we've seen some trade deals getting over the line. Let's keep going in that direction. It's still challenging out there. The economy is only growing at just over 1%, and that's the forecast for this year. So we also asked our members, where's the growth? What do they want to see from the government going forward? So we also told the Prime Minister that we want to see no more tax on business. We want to see a long-term plan for reducing the cost of doing business. We want to see smarter regulation. We want to see more investment in infrastructure, in AI, and we want to use our trade strategy and our new industrial strategy to be that manifesto for Brand Britain that we can sell our fantastic country around the world.
I was with you there a year ago at the conference. We were on the eve of the general election. You heard from Jonathan Reynolds, now the business secretary, from Kemi Badenoch, now the leader, who I know, leader of the opposition who you had with her too. The mood was very different. Lots of expectation of a change of government. You and your counterparts and other business groups and many of your members had a 2-year charm offensive from Labour, and I sense quite a lot of excitement that the change of government alone would deliver, the change of sentiment would go quite a long way. Since then, you've had tax rises, you've got employment reforms coming. Are your members feeling like you've been sold a bit of a pup by this government?
No, I think our members, our businesses we were surprised by the size and scale of the national insurance contribution increases, and that has definitely dented business confidence. But remember, this government has also done plenty of things that we've asked for. So the Prime Minister and we talked about planning reform that's way well into process now, going through Parliament, the trade deals that we've talked about here, signing off of a huge amount of infrastructure from Heathrow expansion to Doncaster Sheffield Airport to Lower Thames Crossing, and that investment in infrastructure and signing off of private investment as well as public investment like Sizewell C drives local supply chains and has a huge impact on local economies. So we've seen them do some things we've been asking for as well.
I am struck, though, Siobhan, you were quite critical in your speech amid the praise for some of the things you've talked about. You said business feels like it's wading through treacle, frustration, irritation, exasperation. You said business is knackering. It does feel a bit like you're saying that business is giving up on this government, despite we had a flurry of strategies this week alone. I wonder if they're trying to make up for lost time.
Well, businesses never give up. We are all born optimists. That's why we're in business. We keep on going. But what we are saying to government is no more tax on business. If you want economic growth, you need to ease the burden of tax on business over this course of this Parliament. And we will therefore generate the economic growth and the revenue back to you, Chancellor, that you can use to pay for public services. So our message was really clear. No more tax on business. And help us build the frameworks, and we will go ahead and deliver economic growth.
Mentioning those strategies, the industrial strategy came on Monday. We've had the trade strategy today. You've long called for trade to be a higher priority for government. What have you made of what you've seen today? It does read like quite a technical document, and trade is complex, and I wonder if the release makes it sound even more complex. Perhaps you could break down for viewers what are the good points in here, and why can trade be a game changer?
So trade export is a really fast and efficient way to grow our economy. We are one market. There are 190 markets out there. It is a huge opportunity for business. We haven't had a trade strategy for 10 years. So it really shows the government's and businesses' direction of travel. We inputted heavily into this strategy. So it's good to see the emphasis on services. We're an 80% services industry with a focus on the 8 high growth sectors for the industrial strategy. It's good to see a focus on particular areas like the Americas, Indo-Pacific, and our biggest trading partner, of course, the EU. Extra investment in UK export finance, so financing businesses to help them, move overseas, enhance protection for our exporters, but ideas around how we can move away from very large trade deals to more sector-specific, quicker agreements that we can have with key markets. So all of that is really important, but altogether, it's about setting a direction of travel, being clear that trade is really important and giving us that collective, politicians, diplomats, businesses, set of ideas, our manifesto to take around the world.
Siobhan Havlin from the British Chambers of Commerce. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on a very busy day for you.
Thank you.
Now, earlier I got the view of Lord Nathaniel Rothschild, who leads the UK-listed company Volex, which manufactures and sells connectors and cables using industrial technology, consumer electricals and electric vehicles. I began by asking him how he's navigating global trade uncertainty caused largely by American tariffs.
Well, it's an extraordinary time, and it's something that I've never experienced before, because the thing that's so different today is that the customers don't know what to do. So we're having much more interaction, much more conversations with the customers about how and where to manufacture things. Now, in our business, we're lucky because we have 27 sites around the world. We also have sites within USMCA, which is the US-Mexico trade agreement that replaced NAFTA. So we have multiple sites in Mexico and multiple sites in North America. So when customers ask us, can we navigate the Trump tariffs, we can say that we can.
And have you had to shift around any operations in a hurry because of the changing environment around tariffs?
Well, a lot of our products are FDA approved, and a lot of our products are go into sort of highly regulated machines. So it's very difficult to move things around. It's not something you can do in a matter of days or even weeks or even months. And so it ties us in with the customers. But the planning process is absolutely vital. And going back to what you discussed, what we don't know is we just don't know where tariffs are going to end up. There's discussions, detailed discussions going on with the Chinese, with the Japanese. There's a short stop date on the 9th of July where we will see whether the kind of blanket 10% tariff is expanded or contracted. So we just don't know is the answer.
The UK government today has published a trade strategy. Its intention, as you might expect, is to make it easier for British companies to export. It's talked about doing more narrow, targeted trade deals rather than the ambitions for big, broad, sweeping agreements. How easy is it as a UK-based company to take advantage of the export market out there? Or are there big challenges you'd like removed in any change to the trading environment?
Well, I think that the agreement, for example, between the US and the UK was an incredibly narrow agreement. It wasn't sort of an all-encompassing trade deal. It actually dealt with a very sort of small number of points. And I think that in our case, look, we are a UK company, we're a UK listed company, but as I said before, we're a global company, and actually far more of our sales are within the US than they are within the UK. And so generally, what we want is seamless trade around the world. We'd much rather have a free trade environment than a tariff environment, because the complication and the detail that we need to go into is vastly amplified by the disagreements in world trade.
couple of broader questions, if I may. You do a lot of business in the EVs market, the charging infrastructure, and I think I understand you supply Tesla. What's your view of the EV market, which has seen a bit of a slowdown as some of the sentiment around net zero has changed? And I wonder where you stand on Tesla, whether you think the recent issues perhaps linked to Elon Musk are a blip or a trend.
Well, first of all, our electric vehicle sales grew organically 40% year on year. And I saw a statistic today, which was put in our results by my team, that in the UK, 26% new car registrations are today electric vehicle registrations. And what we're seeing is a tremendous pickup in our business from conventional automakers moving into the EV space. So what is happening with Tesla is that Tesla own the market up to now, and they still own the market in North America, but there are new challengers coming in. Companies like BYD in China is a good example. But Tesla's still a business that's doing $100 billion a year in revenue. And that is a tremendous amount of opportunity for a company like Volex, which already has an established relationship with them.
One more, if I may, perhaps on less the broader business point than how the environment in the UK affects individuals who are successful. You have a track record, very successful one in investment. Your family, of course, has as well, and that's accrued wealth as a result of that success. Lots of noise among the millionaire and billionaire end of society about how attractive the UK is as a place to be based, given tax changes. I wonder if you have any concerns about the UK as its attractiveness to people who want to base their businesses and hopefully succeed here.
Look, I think that the UK, France, Germany, all of the European countries have got the same issue. They've got economies that have got a huge welfare component. They've got increasing defence bills. They've got enormous amounts of payments they need to make, for example, with the recent debate around disability allowances, and they've got a shrinking tax base. So the current sort of trajectory is unsustainable. And I actually think that Sir Keir Starmer's been given a bad rap. I think he's doing a good job, and I'm very supportive of the steps that he's trying to take.
Some warm words for Sir Keir Starmer there on a day he's probably short of them. Still to come on Business Live. We'll speak to HSBC, the world's biggest trade bank, about what the government's trade strategy means for services.
We're rolling.
Welcome to the world.
Our new podcast, starting now. It's very exciting. Every week, we'll be reporting from the world's trouble spots.
We get to hold those in positions of power accountable, and we get to ask the questions that the audience, the listeners, want to know about.
And that's why it is so important that people tune in, come along for the road, come along for the journey. It'll be fun.
Turkey is burying its dead. Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Havlin, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone should say, I'll do that, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
Sky News, get the full story first.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach.
This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
Welcome back. The government's trade strategy has promised to prioritise the services sector. Earlier I spoke to Stephanie Bettant, the head of Global Trade Solutions at HSBC UK, the world's biggest trade bank, and asked for her take on the plans.
We're absolutely positive about the UK government's trade strategy. First and foremost, the UK putting itself at the center of global trade when there is just so much uncertainty out there for companies in the market. One of the key takeaways for me is the focus on services. In the past, trade strategies have been very focused on goods. And in a country like the UK, which is one of the largest services economy in the world, and yet only 8% of companies in the services sectors export, we think it's a huge opportunity. So this focus on services and this focus on supporting the SMEs is really positive.
We talked a lot about trade over the last few months for obvious reasons and tariffs, and we're generally talking about goods, physical stuff you buy and shift around the world. Just help people understand how the barriers to services trade present themselves and what can be done to remove them.
Absolutely. So if you take professional services, for instance, in the UK, which is a really big sector, there are key things that you can do to support them. For instance, mutual recognition of certifications, of qualifications is a really key one. And we know that in the India-UK trade FTA, which is currently in Parliament, that is an element that they're looking at. And for us, as a very large services company in the financial services sector, things like digital trade provisions in FTAs, which allows for mutual recognition of digital trade documents, is really important. So those are some of the practical examples.
So that is literally being able to practice in the law or accountancy in the country you want to export those services to, or something as simple as approving documentation. I was surprised that that doesn't come as a given. What kind of potential is there, given the size of the British service economy, to expand?
Well, today, the services export, the UK exports about 51% of services and 49% of goods, but more than 80% of the economy is services. So if you were to reflect that, there's a big growth opportunity. Globally, services is also growing much faster than trade in goods. So the UK has a great role to play. And I think it's a $1 trillion opportunity globally. So great to see the UK focus on that.
Some other business news stories now. Barclays' former boss, Jess Staley, has lost a legal challenge against the Financial Conduct Authority's decision to ban him from holding any senior role in the city. The ban was imposed in 2023 after the FCA found Mr. Staley had misled them over his relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Oil giant Shell has denied it is in talks to buy BP after the Wall Street Journal reported talks had begun over a potential £60 billion takeover to create one of the world's largest oil and gas companies. A spokesperson for Shell referred to the deal as further market speculation, saying no talks are taking place. Don't expect that to be the last we hear of it, though. Skoda, meanwhile, has overtaken Tesla for electric vehicle sales in Europe as motorists continue to seem to shun Elon Musk's car maker following his support for Donald Trump. Figures from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association showed sales of Teslas fell for the fifth successive month in May. That was despite a 25% rise in the number of battery electric vehicle registrations overall in the European Union. And if you scan the QR code on your screen now, you can read more on some of these and many other stories on our Money blog. Now let's finish up with take a look at how the markets are doing this afternoon. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq. It's up, the S&P approaching a record, we're told. Hearing that? Let's have a quick look at Europe. All up apart from France by the looks of it. And I can tell you that oil prices are rising too. Goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow.